Jaquin. The Corona Kid, if you will. I hope it finds you well today. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And thank everybody so much as we're recovering from the coronavirus. As most of you know, I spent better part of the week in the hospital. I'm now at home. I'm doing the home thing live on the show from a landline. Believe it or not, those still exist in my bed, of all places, as the show must go on. Eric is still in the hospital. Again, please, all your prayers for Eric. The good news is he's kind of stabilized here. Let's get another big round of prayers going for him, and let's get him on the mend, and hopefully being able to get him to be at home and start resting. And it's been a traumatic, obviously, last several weeks. We've got a great staff that has been on top of it. Nothing has stopped at Patriot. All the metals plans are done. Matter of fact, today, I know the girls are shipping today. We're 1,000% caught up in the Phoenix office as of today. I've got Jason Walker, who he runs Colorado for us. Jason, we're caught up in Colorado as well, correct?
Yeah, we're caught up. I'm calling the people in for the special we ran 2 weeks ago, but almost all the metals programs are gone. I got a couple guys that just haven't shown up and picked them up. So yeah, everything's caught up. Yeah, the specials we've had the last 2 weeks they're coming in. Where I'm calling those guys in too. So yeah, we're good. They're
coming in and going right out. We got more specials to go. Yesterday we ran the silver quarter special. I'll let you know that special stays today. We're under 100 rolls, so we sold a little over halfway through our allotment of rolls of silver quarters. So if you're looking to buy silver at a discount, here's the nice thing. The silver price, as we get closer to 20, silver again above $19 to the ounce again this morning. The premiums are coming in a little bit. Unfortunately, Silver Eagles still unobtainium, and if you get them, you're just paying $8 and $10 over spot, and that's just way too much. So the junk silver, the utility silver, if you will, always a great alternative, and getting less expensive makes me even more excited. Rolls 1 through 9. You can pick up rolls of silver quarters. There's 40 quarters in a roll. And right now, Jason, it's almost 2 gallons of gas.
Right.
A lot of times you used to use the analogy a silver quarter would get you a gallon of gas. Now it's approaching 2 gallons of gas. But there's 40 in a roll, or almost 80 gallons of gasoline for $175. If you buy 10 to 24 rolls, save another $5, take it down to $170 a roll. If you buy a quarter bag, that's 25 rolls. Now, we can't even do 4 quarter bags today. But if you want to buy a quarter bag or 3 is the most I can sell today, another $5 off a roll, so you're down to $165. But a quarter bag would be $4,125. So you're really getting a price where before I got sick, this would have been below my cost. These retails would have been way below cost. Cost was almost $4 over spot. So take advantage. Put some more silver away. We've got a great gold special. I'll share that with you at the halftime break. I'm still chasing some final numbers on that, but we're going to have a gold special to go along with it today at 800-951-0592. A little tougher day for me today. I'm not sure why. Just sleep has been at a premium today. Well, and actually, since I've been home, sleeping has been difficult. Dealing with the inflammation left over from COVID has been, and Jason can tell you, he's got a real keen ear when we talked this morning, he's like, so not as good today. I mean, that was like the first words out of your mouth today.
Yeah.
But just one of those things. It's one of these things in dealing with the aftermath of this and what this thing is, and I don't know. You know what? I don't know. Is this the thing that appeared out of nature, right? That just was part of the evolution of things. I'm not in that camp. I don't believe that. I do believe that this was weaponized. Whether it was weaponized on purpose or accident, that I could debate, right? That's just and these are just my personal opinions, you know. And everybody has. I know Jason has his thoughts on it. You know, the people at Fox or CNN, and everybody has an opinion. And you know, when we talk about economically, right? It doesn't matter what your opinion is when it comes to COVID-19. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you think it was just a normal evolution and made a jump from animal to humans, whether this was a premeditated attack or an accident or whatever it may be. How do we deal with it economically? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Eric and why we got back together. Patriot Radio News Hour. Don't touch that dial. Joe Jake went with Jason Walker here on this Tuesday. I would tell you the date, but I don't even know what the date is. Jason, do you know what the date is?
This is Tuesday, July 14th. It's 65 degrees in Johnstown. Yeah, it's actually very cool in Johnstown. We've had these high 90s and 100-degree days, and but today, this morning's a little cooler, so it may be a little relief here.
Well, we've had some hot days here in the Valley of the Sun. It's supposed to cool down this week. Of course, cool down here in the Valley is something under 110 for the highs. I know we haven't. I don't think we've been below 90 degrees in like 72 hours. Like not even like at 3 o'clock in the morning. I don't believe, and I don't think Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I don't think in those 3 days that we got below 90. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that we never got below 90 degrees. And usually, you know, early in the morning, you can get into the, you know, the mid to low 80s, but that hasn't happened. But hopefully, cooling trend here coming to Arizona after the last 3 or 4 days been pretty warm. But we'll have to wait and see. It's summertime. I mean, that's just what you get here. No monsoons. It seems like some years they don't come at all anymore, and when they do come, they come later and later. But yeah, no monsoons to be found yet. No rain whatsoever.
We usually get ours in July usually, so it could still be coming.
Yeah, it's usually for us too, and so you know already July's half over. Still haven't seen one yet, but fingers crossed. That we'll be getting into it. But it's so funny as I'm watching TV because, you know, in the studios at the office, we don't have the TV there. We're in the studio. We know we're doing our show. I got my laptop. My wife still hasn't allowed me to have access to my laptop. I'm hoping that tomorrow I may have it. She's actually, believe it or not, Sarah, Brooke, and Arlene are at the office right now in Phoenix, in the Phoenix office. My wife has already called to voice her displeasure with the COVID cleaning that had been done at the office and is now doing another round and said that the good news, Jason, she's going to bring my laptop home.
Okay, that's good.
So that's a positive.
I thought she was keeping it away from you so that you wouldn't look at it and get stressed out.
She is. She said that she's going to bring it home. She hasn't decided whether or not I'm going to be able to plug it in. Because I keep telling her I need to plug it in. I've got passwords and things of that nature that need to get done. So if you've sent me an email or something like that, and haven't heard a response, that's why. I'm not even allowed on my email, and my wife is trying to save me from myself. Is really what she's trying to do, and so. But anyway, that's kind of where we're at right now.
Joe, I was gonna throw something in there. You were talking about silver quarters. I didn't get a chance to jump in, but I just wanted to add one thing that the silver quarter. You can get 2 gallons of gas now for that one silver quarter, and I was just sitting there thinking, you can't get a fair price versus the spot price for Silver Eagles right now. But there's probably oil tankers just floating out in the ocean with nobody wanting to buy it right now. So even though there's more demand for oil worldwide, but silver.
That's a great point. Oil's $40 a barrel, and there's hardly anybody that wants to buy it. And Silver Eagles, the U.S. Mint, even though they're ramping production now again, finally, unable to meet the demands. I have a funny feeling 2021. We're going to see Silver Eagle production cross the 40 million ounce mark again. I really do believe that. I'm looking at the demand here in 2020.
As long as they can stay open. As long as they can stay open.
Well, that's the key. It's going to be, can they stay open? And I was talking about watching the TV, because I don't get to do that at the office. During the break, here's what I'm watching. So I'm watching. We just set a record for June. This was a June number. The national debt for the month of June, 800. It was either 846 or 864. 846 or 864. I think it was $864 billion in 1 month.
Yep.
I mean, you're talking about, hey, well, that's. I mean, you're just missing $1 trillion by $140 billion in a month. In a month, not a quarter. In a month.
26 trillion, 26 trillion, 519 billion, and counting is where the U.S. national debt is now.
So we've already added another 500 trillion or 500 billion in the last couple of weeks, right?
Yep.
At this pace, by the end of July. 27 trillion. I mean, it's incredible how fast now these debt levels are going. And then right after that, so then the next number I see, I've got the volume off. But in the now they're going back 16 weeks now. And I don't know, my brain's still a little mushy. Layoffs for COVID here in the U.S. really didn't start till March. But let's just kind of assume that this 16 weeks, it's got to be pretty close.
Yeah, Joe, the last 15 weeks, so I know we have another jobless claims on Thursday, but the last 15 weeks we bridged past 50 million jobless claims. In 15 weeks. The
number I saw on the TV set was 49 million, or 49.98 million. So just according to the TV, just a smidge under, let's just round it up here, 50 million people have filed for unemployment.
15 weeks.
Which is
15 weeks.
Yeah, which is a third of our workforce. That means 33% of the country that had a job have filed for unemployment. Now, it doesn't mean they haven't been rehired, okay? But somewhere along this trend, they have filed for unemployment. And I sit there and I'm watching like Wall Street and all these things. You don't think you need to have gold? Are you kidding me? Right? And it brings me back to in the story I said I was going to talk to you yesterday about Eric and I. And Jason will tell you, Eric and I have been working probably for the better part of, I don't know, what would you say, Jason, the last year and a half, trying to find a role in a way, because Eric wanted to get back into things, and for a while there he was thinking about doing his own show, remember, Jason?
Oh, yeah.
And we were going to try to do syndication, and we were going to do this, and we probably did 2 or 3 different things. Not probably, we did. And they just didn't work, and I would, and it would be funny. I would say, Eric's really not into that, or Eric would be like, it doesn't sound like this is really what you're into, and we are trying to find a way to do something together, because Eric and I have always been good partners, and it just wasn't happening, and we kind of left it. We had kind of left it as, we tried, wasn't meant to be, blah, 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 and then all of a sudden this COVID thing happens. And I remember back when Nancy Pelosi and Chucky Schumer were going on TV and accusing us of being bad little racist for not going to Chinatown, right? And remember, this was, not get out and eat in Chinatown, because Trump was calling it the Wuhan virus or the Chinese virus. Nobody wears a mask. Matter of fact, they were on TV all the time telling you there's no reason for a mask. Right, Jason?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Right? All day long, right? And how dare you not go to Chinatown and eat and do this and that? And, of course, now, nobody should ever leave their home ever again and all of these other things. But Eric calls me. I'll never forget it because it was a Friday. And I was on the golf course, and I believe he was on the golf course somewhere else. And he started leaving me messages, voicemails on my phone. And I was listening to the voicemails, and I didn't want to respond because they I'll be honest with you, one of them had angered me because Eric was talking about, hey, if we can't find a way to do business, then I guess we're going to have to compete against each other. And I had gotten home, and I played it for my wife, and she's just like, she knows us well, and she's like, it's just typical of you two. You two just need to sit down and talk to each other, And of course I'm telling her, well, I've done this, I've tried, I tried this and I tried that, and it didn't work, and blah blah blah, and da da da. And eventually, you listen to your wife because they know what they're talking about. And Eric and I agreed to meet at our office Saturday morning. So I called him Friday night. And a matter of fact, I think I did it through text. I don't even think I called him. But we set up a meeting Saturday morning. So I drove down to the office. Jason will remember because I called you, Jason.
Oh, yeah. I remember all of it.
Right, remember? And I was telling Jason, and we were trying to go over all the scenarios and all of those things. And it was just so funny because when I got there and we started talking, it was really obvious what was motivating Eric, and he was like, Joe, I've got to warn people. I've got to do this. This is what's going to happen. And he starts essentially doing a radio show right in front of me. And it took me back to when I first started with Eric. Matter of fact, and a lot of you will remember, Robbie Noel was still here. My father-in-law had come to town. Eric, me, the four of us were working together. Then Robbie had left, and of course, my father-in-law and Eric had a very volatile relationship. Then Eric and I became partners. Eric had bought the office that I'm in now, that I own now. Eric had actually bought that office, and we had moved in 2005. We moved into the office that I that I own now. I own the building now, but Eric owned it previously. And we had done that because we had gotten on the air in Arizona. Most people don't know this. Patriot was a mail order. We were mail order for the first, almost 10 years. Probably, the first 8 years of the company, it was mail order. Nobody came to the office to pick up product. I mean, that was unheard of. No, you called, you placed an order, and we shipped it to you. And we got on the air. We started doing a weekend show in Phoenix. And we had a customer. Matter of fact, he's still a customer. The guy just ordered a couple of weeks ago. When we return, I'll tell you, I'll get to the story, I promise I will, of why Eric wanted to come back. Patriot Radio News Hour. Don't touch that dial.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report, a daily broadcast launched by Phyllis Schlafly, who served as an articulate voice for traditional values for more than 70 years. Upholding that legacy and himself an author, national speaker, and attorney, here's the president of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, Ed Martin.
If there's one thing you can count on from bureaucrats, it's that they'll seize any opportunity to excuse their own underperformance. The education elites are no different. I predict that a decade from now, so-called education experts will still be blaming COVID-19 for dismal test scores. Before they even get the chance to start lobbing excuses, let's remember just how bad American public schools were before the virus ever came onto the scene. The premier measure of the state of our schools is something called the Nation's Report Card. It's the biggest nationwide test in the core subjects. According to this test, fourth graders were more likely to believe we fought Hitler and the Germans in the Civil War than in World War II. On top of this, only 21% of students could identify the Soviet Union as the leading communist nation during the Cold War. Students literally could have done better if they'd picked randomly. It's clear to see our nation's public schools weren't in great shape before COVID-19, but that won't change how educators will blame the disruption caused by the virus for their future failures. Parents are left with a very big choice to make. Either you can leave your children in the public schools and try to supplement their education as best you can, or you can pursue a different option, like private schooling or homeschooling. Private schools aren't always accessible to all families, and homeschooling can be intimidating before you've tried it. So I'm not saying that there's one right answer for every situation. Every parent has to make the choice for themselves. However, I will say that parents should not base their choice only on the propaganda put out by the government-funded education establishment. Millions of children don't attend the public schools every year. Online resources make homeschooling more accessible than ever before. The opportunities out there for parents and families, they're endless. As you consider what to do with your children this coming fall, do your own research and make your own choices. Ultimately, it's up to you to raise your children. Treat that responsibility with pride and with reverence. You'll be glad you did.
Parents and grandparents jumpstart the education of that child you love so much with a proven phonics course. With Turbo Reader, anyone at any age can learn to read. For free information on Phyllis Schlafly's Turbo Reader, call toll-free 1-866-TRY-TURBO. Open the door to a lifetime of reading and self-motivation. Call 1-866-TRY-TURBO. Thanks for listening, and join us again for the Phyllis Schlafly Report.
Hey, welcome back. Patriot Radio News Hour here on this Tuesday, 800-951-0592. Just telling the story here. You know, going back to 04, 05, when my father-in-law and Eric split up, if you will. Both of them wanted me to become a partner with them, right? Jim, my father-in-law, wanted me to branch out with him. Eric wanted me to stay with him. You know, I was kind of in a catbird seat of picking, and of course, I think I made the right choice in becoming partners with Eric. And, you know, it wasn't, you know, I didn't get handed to it. I had to buy it. And I had, my wife and I had actually took a second mortgage out. This was back when our housing in Arizona, you go to bed at night, it'd be worth another $1,000. We took a second mortgage on our house. to buy half of Patriot from Eric. And Eric and I became partners. And we had decided to move. We had an office in Carefree, which was ridiculous to get to. I mean, you're just so far out of the way, not even near a freeway. And now we had these Arizona customers wanting to come and pick up product. And we couldn't talk them out of it. Didn't matter. I mean, they drive 45, 50 minutes one way. They didn't care. They wanted to meet us, and so we moved to a more centralized location. And I was serious. You know, this was all the money I had in the world. And Eric was out early on in 05 when we had just moved in, making ridiculous claims. General Motors is going to go to zero. And I'll never forget that show. General Motors was $42. We had just moved into this office. I had just become a partner. I didn't even I wasn't even a partner in the building. That was separate, right? Which, you know, that's just how it was. You know, now I got to pay rent on a building, and I wanted to be serious. And after the show, I was angry, and Eric and I had this discussion. I'm like, dude, you can't make all these ridiculous claims. Gold was like, I don't know, I want to say gold was in the fives at the time, maybe the sixes, $500-600. And he's talking about General Motors going to zero and gold going to $2,000. It was just outrageous. And he listens to me, right? And I'm ranting about, hey, we're trying to build, you know, my vision of things, right? Credibility with our listeners, right? And we're trying to build a reputation of guys that, you know, because these gold guys make these outlandish stuff, right? They're always way out there. And Eric listens to it and says, and he just kind of, like he does, he's a funny guy, uses humor a lot to disarm me, and says to me, he goes, dude, I didn't say that for shock. He goes, it's going to happen. He goes, mark my words, and we wrote it down, you know, we wrote it down, and sure enough, obviously, you fast forward, General Motors went to zero. You know, gold got to $1,900, but pretty close. And ever since then, I started to have an even deeper appreciation for Eric, because he does have that ability, doesn't he, Jason, to see things that most of us don't see.
Oh, yes.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yep, I do see that.
Right?
Yeah, yep.
He sees things most of us don't see. And yeah, he uses a lot of humor, and he makes you laugh, and he's a great storyteller. But he sees things. There's a reason he came back to Patriot. It had nothing to do with, hey, I'm looking to get back into the gold business, per se. That really wasn't his motivation. He's not a partner of Patriot. He doesn't own any piece of the company. Me and him own part of we share ownership of the radio station, Eric and I, but he doesn't own any part of Patriot. But when he sat me down on that Saturday, and he says to me, Joe, this is what's coming, and I need to provide for my family. And he said, I know you're going to think it's crazy, but this is what's going to happen. And he started talking about gold. And he wasn't talking about 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Hell, he didn't even say 10. He said, the first number he said to me was 25,000. He calmed it down to 20. And then he started talking about Wall Street. And he said, Wall Street's going to rally. And, of course, I'm sitting there going, what are you talking about? Wall Street's going down. Right? COVID's coming, it's gonna we're gonna test the lows. Right? This is what I'm thinking in my mind. And of course, we were both right. Wall Street did go down. We didn't go anywhere near the lows, right? We didn't get back to the old previous all-time highs of 14,000 or anything like that. And of course now Eric's the rally back part is right. And he talked about inflation. He talked about how housing is going to become so expensive that less and less and less people will be able to afford homes, and yet the price is going to stay elevated. And he talked about interest rates. I mean, he really had this clairvoyant vision of what was going to be coming and the ramifications that was going to have on the entire country, and the fact that gold was going to take a new central role in all of this. And yet here we are, and it's starting to look like the beginning of what Eric was talking about is happening. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. I don't know where we're at on the quarter rolls. I know we're about out. I know that we're below 100 rolls left. Rolls of U.S. silver quarters, 1 through 9, 175. Buy 10 rolls, 10 to 24 rolls, 170 a roll. If you want to buy a quarter bag, that's 25 rolls. That would take you down to $165 a roll, or $4,125 for the quarter bag. I just saw silver tick through on my TV here at $19.56 an ounce. So make sure you buy on the premiums coming in. Silver's getting ready, and actually silver's already started moving here. Breaking above $20 is going to be a big number. I actually think $25 silver before the end of the year. I'm not an Eric guy. Eric was talking, $20,000 gold, $500 silver type things. And as I watch this and I'm seeing this and I look at 1 month, June, which is not June's an ordinary month, $864 billion of debt in a month. I mean, that's $10 trillion for the year. Now, it's only a month, but this is where we're heading. You look at the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve, and you look at what they're doing and buying all this. And we got Tesla. No offense to Tesla. I don't know anything. I know they make some cars. What did they sell? I don't know, 100, 200,000 cars, maybe. Right? And they have a market cap now that says they're bigger than J.P. Morgan. Really? Right? Really? That's our reality? Our reality has to be, dude, if Tesla's really worth more than J.P. Morgan, how much trouble are we in? I mean, J.P. Morgan's got, if you'd say, okay, what's the best bank that we would have in the nation? I think most people would probably say J.P. Morgan. Right? They're the best bank. And they probably have, I don't even know, I'm going to guess, 30% of all the deposits in the country. And some guy that, no offense, I'm sure he's a genius, the pot-smoking Elon Musk. But again, when Eric was talking to me, this was the stuff that he was saying is coming. These enormous bubbles everywhere that tried to obscure and hide, and he saw the massive spending that was going to be taking place, and really the continued. And here was the part that got sad. It's going to hollow out and finish off the middle class. This is what this round is. We saw it during the financial crisis, right? We saw that a lot of people were falling from upper middle class to middle class, from middle class to lower middle class, and then from lower middle class right into poverty. And that trend, Eric thinks this is going to be a mainstay of this. And and we just look at numbers today: 50 million people have filed for unemployment claims. The extra money is going to be gone now. The government's already said this. California just re-shut back down. How is this all supposed to work? And I think that what Eric saw was never ending of spending coming out of the government and the central bank until it all breaks apart. We're on that track now, right? The pace they call MMT, I think, the modern money theory, which on the concept of it makes no sense, which is, we can just keep printing it all. And of course, Eric, I think, at least once a week since he's been back, has been reading everyone, that definition of inflation. Know this, especially those of you that have listened to my uncle for the last 2.5 decades. He does say some outlandish things, but they happen. It's not a scare thing or a humor thing. Well, this is what he sees.
Joe, and I agree with most of Eric's predictions. I think a lot of it is he's right on the nose. I don't agree with every single some of the details.
No, neither do I. Neither do I, Jason. Right?
I
don't agree with it either.
I think what's amazing about the guys that are running Patriot now is if we were like a weather forecast team. Brian and myself on our show, we tell you why these storms have happened in the past and why this is going to happen again. You're the guy that's actually digs the numbers up. It's like, well, look, the numbers are telling us there's going to be a storm, and then Eric is the one that sees it first coming. That's kind of how I see our team.
He does. He's a guy, and I'll tell you a great little story about Eric. Before I ever worked for Patriot, my boys were young. Joey was probably 3, and Boo wasn't very even. It wasn't. My youngest couldn't have been 1, maybe 1. We went to Roosevelt Lake. Sarah and I. Eric brought the motor home and the boat, and I'll never forget it. We're out on the lake, and it's somewhere around noon or 1 o'clock. Beautiful day out. Eric's like, we got to bring the boat in right now. A storm's coming. And I'm looking and I'm like, what are you talking about? Dude, I'm not kidding you. By 3 o'clock, boats were trapped out on the lake. That's just the vision this guy's got. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. Hey, final segment before we leave here today. Don't forget, have Eric in your prayers, kind of a little tribute show today to him. Talking about that story at Roosevelt Lake, it was just so appropriate because it was such a great day. And Eric gets us off the lake, and I'm just sitting, on the beach there, and talking to my wife, because I love Eric, and I'm just like, gosh, I go, what's he thinking? It's beautiful out here. You know, we were having such a great time, and she's like, that's just, he's always been that way. And you know what my wife, though, said? Don't worry, a storm's coming. And I'm not kidding you. Within a couple of hours, everybody is just, it's thunder, it's lightning. People can't get their boats out fast enough and all of this stuff. It's just, he's got a gift. He's told you about it. Put the time to put it away. This is something where I think over the next 5 years, you are going to see Eric's vision playing out for you. Today I got a great item, AU $10 Liberty. So the AUs, this is the gold piece, the half ounce, almost uncirculated. So these things are going to be sharp. Really good-looking coins. I'm told that there's lots of dates in there. A lot of times when you deal with other guys, you get better graded material, especially in the Liberties. You only get 1900, 1904, or 1907. Here you're going to get a lot of dates, a lot of pre-1900 dates. Right now, a regular $10 Liberty is $1,035. So you're going to go up to an AU, an almost uncirculated, 1 through 9, $1,025. So it's $10 less than our circulated coins. If you buy 10 or more, take another $10 off. 10 or more at $1,015. And don't forget, rolls of quarters, 1 through 9, $175, 10 through 24, $170. A quarter bag takes them down to $165 a roll, or $4,125 at 800-951-0592. And just think about this. This coin here, it's a little over $1,000. Eric thinks in the next 5 years or so, you're going to be staring at $10,000 for one, right? $10,000 for one, right? Not $1,200 or $1,500, $10,000. I mean, and this is the kind of thing that we don't talk a lot about that type of stuff here because we like to be current and all of those things, but just understand what Eric sees and why it was he wanted to come back to Patriot to warn and give everybody the opportunity to see the storm that he sees coming. And you start looking today and you start really looking at these numbers, it's hard to see him not being right. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back tomorrow. Everybody take care. God bless. Say your prayers for Eric.